A few bits of Saturday night drama, but at the end of it all, it was the team who were in charge who went on to take the victory. A second simple run chase off the day, and it certainly has made the end of the tournament very, very interesting. We're going to come to all the scenarios, but let's quickly wrap up what has happened in the last 34 overs and one delivery. That's all the match lasted. And here you can have a look at 120 for 7 batting out their 20 overs were the Royal Challengers, who actually wanted to bat first, even though they were put in. And Hyderabad, we talked about needing to get it in under 14.3 overs to change the net run rate scenario. We didn't think they were going to get there, but suddenly Jason Holder exploding in that 1 over from Navdeep Saini and one more 6 from Yuzvendra Chahal, and it was done and dusted. Under 14.3, 121 for 5. 26 of just 10 deliveries, but it all set up between Riddhiman Saha and Manish Pandey after they lost David Warner early. So it really opens up the tournament towards the end. Expected teams, possibly not just today, but in the last 4 or 5 days, all going down. 1, 2, 3, 4, you name it. Shaun Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya alongside. Yes, Shaun, an expected result, but not expected from before the first ball was bowled today.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great week or so for the favourites. I mean, all of them almost should have qualified about 10 days ago, but they're still sitting on the fence waiting to see their fate. So they'll be very disappointed. Obviously, it's still in their hands, and they've got one more game to go, so they can impact that. But SRH, we thought they were out of the competition a while back. They've shown some real character. It seems like they've got their combinations right. And once they had RCB under that initial pressure, they didn't allow them off and deserved winners.
Yeah, it's not a great place to be sitting on a fence at the moment, Joy. You could hurt your shoulder.
Absolutely.
But that's the last time I'll make that reference.
You had to bring a shoulder into it. I'm telling you that, Gautam, you'll take a second job as giving anatomy lessons to umpires in the IPL, because I think they need to understand, not me.
It was one of those. We loved umpires. We respect them. We allow them the leeway to get things wrong occasionally in the heat of the moment. But that was a surprising one. I'm sure it's going to be talked about. It didn't probably affect the result at the end, but I think let's focus on how good Hyderabad were. Of course, with the ball, they set it up and knocked it. They could have gone wrong. 120 could have gone wrong the way Chahal was bowling, the way Sundar was bowling, Joy.
Yeah, it's exactly 55 days to Christmas, but I think Jason Holder, when they were in a slightly tight spot, got a Christmas gift. He got the pace of Navdeep Saini to play with, and suddenly things look different to him. I mean, really, the ball, when the pace was being taken off the ball, you've already had one chase where you've muffed up, fudged up a 120 odd chase, and doubts are creeping into your head. Suddenly, you give somebody like Holder, who's as strong as an ox, back of length ball which he can hit. He must have thought that, it's 55 days early, I'll take it, this is under the Christmas tree for me. And that's what they did. So even when, I think their bowling attack, bowling 3-4 fast bowling overs in the first 6 was crazy. But after that also, when you're in a situation there, and I which Shaun said something while we were chatting, which is very interesting. He said, in a situation like this, Chahal has not even finished his quota. And his last, he 3.1 overs, but he should have finished much earlier. He should have been given the chance to take this match close at least.
We mentioned that in another game the other day when it was assisting the quicker bowlers, and we didn't see the quicker bowlers bowl what they should have really bowled in the first 10 or 12 overs, Shaun. Did you see any rationale for getting Navdeep Saini on at that stage?
Yeah, it must have been. At the halftime, it's not something that we're discussing afterwards and coming up with this point. At the halftime, I called for the first 6 overs to be pace off the ball, because I thought that would be the difficult one to deal with. Sundar was great, Morris's first over, and I would have even used one of Chahal's overs as the 6th over of the power play. I just thought pace on the ball, and we saw it when Sani and Suraj came and bowled. It gave them pace to work with, and it was easy to get the ball away to the boundary. So, yeah, I think unfortunately, I think also Udana probably should have been able to finish his 4. Sundar should have finished his 4. Those were the kind of bowlers who were going to be most effective. But the moral of the story is 120 wasn't enough. You needed to give yourself more than that to defend, and then you could have gone through your whole repertoire of bowlers. The batting, once again, letting them down.
Yeah, I think that's spot on analysis from Shaun, Joy. You really want to look at that bowling card and say, okay, 4 from Udana, 4 from Chahal, 4 from Sundar. If they still win in 14 or 15 overs, so be it. None of them have completed their 4-over quota.
Absolutely. Give Gurkarat the ball. Let him bowl off spin. Let them hit the ball. Let them put the pace on the ball. Don't give them place to play with. And we talk about Saha. A discussion a few days back about how good a deflector Surya Kumar is. Saha is also basically a deflector. He can hit it straight, but he loves getting something that he can quickly swivel and just use the pace of the ball. And you gave him that pace. You gave a batsman who would have struggled otherwise. You gave him that pace to play with, and that's exactly what my problem is. It's not that they lost; it's that their game plan seemed all over the place. That's all.
But Shaun, to give credit where it's due, if you look around all the teams, the one thing unique about this particular team is at this late stage, they have unearthed not one, but 2 heroes who could stand them in great stead when they go into the playoffs. One, of course, Jason Holder. We know he's a class act, but he wasn't playing for much of the first half. And Wriddhiman Saha, who's been a late bloomer. Again, somebody who's class that we know, Shaun.
Yeah, he is. Jason Holder, an all-rounder. As soon as you get an all-rounder in the mix and they can contribute with the bat and the ball, it just brings some great balance, doesn't it? Wriddhiman Saha, we've seen his performance. It was actually quite funny because I saw the stat or the graph come up about his performance so far in the tournament. And I think his first knock he had was like 32 or 31. But when you look back in the context of the match he played, he didn't do his team a favor on that occasion. But when you just have a look at the stats, you think, well, that's not too bad. 32 or 31. Why did they keep him out for 7 or 8 games? Particularly when he comes back and plays the way he did. And then again today, superb. I thought he adjusted his game plan, played some nice shots, was quite inventive. And it's important. I think it's given him the right balance. Bairstow has been good, yes, but they're getting just as much a performance from Saha at the top of the order now. And it gives them that ability just to back up their bowling. I thought without the extra all-rounder, their bowling was just a bit thin. And that's where teams were taking advantage. So those overs you're getting from Holder is key. So for now, I just think obviously that balance is just looking a little bit better.
And this is something, Joy, that obviously happened in the bench. You talked about that entire support staff. They would have thought about it because sacrificing someone like Johnny Bairstow is a big deal. He does perform. He can win you a game single-handedly. But they realized both these people were related to Johnny Bairstow. Saha had to come in to keep. And of course, Jason Holder had to came in as the foreign replacement.
Absolutely. I think they knew that their bowling needed help. I mean, it was less about anything else than the fact that that international all-rounder, their bowling looked thin. Now with that 6th bowler and Holder giving them 4 consistently, Shahbaz gets hit one day, you take him off. Sanjeev, all these guys, you can take them off. Natarajan has a great day, give him 1 over less. He gives them that flexibility and he gives them power. The other thing is having 2 international bowlers in the attack. Experience counts, especially when the games get tighter and tighter and tighter. We've been talking about Mumbai. Why are they so good? They're also not just a good side, they're a veteran side. They know what needs to be done. They've been in tight situations before, and they know what to do. And here, if you have an international captain like Jason Holder there, and that's one thing that, 2 international captains are standing in the field. Kane Williamson is there in the field for them. Jason Holder is there in the field for them. So there's so much experience out there, and that's terrific for them right now.
Yeah, and the other thing that's in common to both these gentlemen is they're the calmest individuals you'll see on a cricket field, Kane Williamson and big Jason Holder.
Yeah, I think when you've played as much T20 cricket, I think, in our day, it was just the one-day internationals. You'd often only get into the real pressure situation at the back end, whereas T20 cricket is basically a pressure situation from ball 1. And when you've played 10, 20, 30, even internationals and add in it to it RPL games, you do learn the art of, under this new additional pressure now, how to hold your nerve, how to try and be focused. And that's a lot of what the talk behind the scenes. For example, if you are chasing 9 and over, all it requires is 1 boundary and 5 singles. So to communicate that calm stuff into a team unit makes a lot of sense. And those are the guys who've been there on the international stage to be able to do that. And then Kane Williamson is normally that kind of guy. He'll be very disappointed, won't he, that he got out in that fashion and that he wasn't there at the end. He would have absolutely loved to have anchored it to a victory.
But I mean, they'll chat on the sidelines and they realize that they've taken it home. I mean, Jason Holder, one thinks back to the CPL last year, a team that's not really favored with all the other star-studded teams, took them to victory, and they came in as defending champions this year, finished bottom, But nonetheless, Jason Holder, a lot to do with being captain of that side. But two teams, you talk about this point in the tournament, the business end. It can also be the banana peel end of the tournament. We've seen Delhi, we've seen Bangalore, both in the same day, slipping at a time when you just want to keep walking towards the finish line, in this case, the finish line being the playoff stage. Let's have a look at the points table and just to confirm what's happened as a result of, initially, of course, Mumbai winning very easily, and today 14.1 overs for Hyderabad. And look at where they are, plus 0.555 for Hyderabad, Punjab below them, Rajasthan below them, and it's all bunched up. And Bangalore, even though they're at up there, it's minus 0.145. So it's going to be very, very interesting. They're, of course, ahead on points right now. But as and when the other two teams catch up on 14, it's going to be fun and games. Scenarios.com, Shaun Pollock, here we go. Take it away and have a look at what's coming up.
Yeah, I think before we even go to these, I mean, with the table, you've got Rajasthan, RCB playing Delhi. And whichever team loses, their net run rate can obviously not improve. So if Punjab wins, all of a sudden they jump ahead of them and they're out of the tournament. So, yeah, the scenarios, they keep getting better and better, more exciting, more for us to think of and put up on graphics and keep you guys interested. So we love them. And there's a lot to do. Mumbai will finish top. There we go. Mumbai to the top. Bangalore, Delhi, one will finish on 16, number 2 on the table. So that's also positive for them because that means that they move into the 1 and 2 playoff. But the team that loses that could actually be out. That's how close it is, and that's how scary it is. 2 teams get into the playoffs. It doesn't often happen that 2 teams get to the playoff in 14. Normally, we talk about 1 get in there. Hyderabad, if they beat Mumbai, they'll qualify for the playoffs. And you would think Mumbai on that surface will rest people, and they will not want any more cricket played on the Sharjah surface. It's not part of any of the playoffs. The playoffs are happening in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, so they don't need to get used to that surface. Therefore, you probably find that they'll rest most of their players. They can definitely only end up top. So there it might be a little bit easier for SRH.
Joy, you talked about Christmas as far as Navdeep Saini and some of the other bowlers were concerned. What about the Punjab team sitting around? They've had nothing to do today. They've been sitting and watching the games on television in their hotels. And they've seen 2 teams, without them lifting a finger, go below them in net run rate on the same day.
Absolutely. And now Punjab is saying exactly the same thing as SRH. They're exactly the same place. They win tomorrow, they're through. They win tomorrow because their run rate is above or will end up above either Bangalore or Delhi, whatever happens. So if Punjab win tomorrow, they are through. If SRH win, they are through. Kolkata will have to sweat it out and see what's happening. One of, obviously, Delhi or Bangalore will go through. But the interesting one will be what happens if Kolkata wins. How big do they need to win by to start contending in that situation? That's what I'll be interested in.
But of course, the first one, it all starts tomorrow afternoon with Chennai needing to win for all these other scenarios to happen. Punjab have it in their own hands. They win, as I said, even by 1 run, and they stay ahead, and it's all good for them. But Chennai needs to now upset a few apple carts.
Yeah, Chennai has done enough.
And the best thing I think too is, I think the best thing about this is it's going down to the last game. We won't know who's qualified until the last game's been played, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, just the fact that you had the first Q, Joy, coming up on the points table, just about with 6 days to go for the last game. I mean, that is unthinkable. It was yesterday that Mumbai actually qualified.
Yeah, 4 days to go. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know who Bangalore and Delhi were playing for today, but they were certainly playing for the television company because the ratings will go through the roof over the weekend, given that these are all must-win games now.
Yeah, interesting. I was trying to draw a parallel with the Premier League, and we are seeing something very similar happening in the Premier League. Not since 1967, gents, has there been a scenario in the Premier League where there's not been a single team unbeaten this early into the season. We're talking about late season, but everyone's played about 6 or 7 games, and every team has at least lost 1 game. Not happened since 1967.
I'll blame it on 2020.
It's a good thing to blame anything on, to be honest.
Yeah, the coronavirus is affecting everything.
Yeah, well, I'm very curious to know what Virat Kohli said. I'm going to just pop in there as I throw a question and you'll pop into the app and see what he said. But Joy, for them, I mean, it's obviously alarm bells will be sounding. They'll know it's coming down to that, but they'll also know that that game on Monday between Bangalore and Delhi, which at one time was probably looking at two teams carrying each other through, or even a top place, just a qualification scenario in terms of where you finish. Now it might just be one going and one not going.
Absolutely. I think it's almost surely going to be one going and one not going. And I think that's great for the tournament because that's a virtual knockout. Tuesday's game is Hyderabad will always have that last card in their hand till Tuesday. And whatever happens, whatever Kolkata does or whatever Punjab does, they will sweat it out till the last day. Because a lot of what will happen will depend on what's happening on Tuesday. So yeah, it's a fantastic scenario. And I think this is one of the most exciting IPLs ever. I think the way teams have slipped is something that I'll be very interested in seeing. I mean, one of Delhi or Bangalore is going to get a win finally. One of them is going to get a win, so one of them will come back with a little more confidence. But right now, both those teams look shot to me. They look shockers to me, both of them.
An interesting.
I think,
go ahead, Shaun.
Yeah, I think also the scenario that Mumbai found themselves in. It's so important that for the last few days they've known they've qualified and their minds are on the playoffs. The rest of the teams are all scrambling just to get over the line. So their full focus is on, we just want to qualify. Whereas Mumbai are already preparing for the 1 and 2 playoff. They're already thinking about the surface that what should be their best team, who needs to be in fine form. And those small things, I know they seem insignificant because what are you talking about? Once you qualify, then you move on. No, the mindset that you take into those knockoffs is so important. And that's why I think that Mumbai have really got a massive advantage by qualifying as early as they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mumbai's situation, the way they've played it, the way they've done it, they're the only team who's shown a certain amount of calmness in this game. I think everyone else is just really, really, they're playing the moment. I think Mumbai's playing the tournament. You're absolutely right. It's almost like men playing with boys at this point in time. It wasn't like that for a while, but now it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I was just ducking out for a moment just to try, and curiosity was getting the better of me to see what Virat Kohli had said. And a couple of interesting comments. Of course, he's talked about the dew. It's been unpredictable weather, and today you could see every single ball his bowlers were struggling. But towards the end, he said, "I've always been a Bangalore boy in the IPL, never sort of drifted towards Delhi, because that's the one thing he has in common. He is a Bangalore boy. He's from Delhi, so." That Bangalore versus Delhi game is going to be mixed feelings in a sense for him, certainly, Joy.
Yeah, I think these guys are professional now. I mean, he plays for India, so he says, I'll keep my patriotism and loyalty for India. Right now, Bangalore has done well by me over the last 9-10 years. I came here as a young under-19 captain. While I became India captain in the 10, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years I've been here. So I think he looks at it that way and he's comfortable in his skin. I think the only thing he does want to do is deliver a championship to them. And I think the two people who are hungriest in that sense are him and Chris Gayle, because both of them have come tantalizingly close and they haven't given it to their teams. So both those guys are searching. They feel that their stamp of greatness will only be stamped on them if they also have an IPL ring along with their individual achievements.
Yep. Well, it was a lot closer a few days ago. For the moment, whether you might consider him an ultimate player or not, we've got a few other names on the list of the My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day. The best of the best from this last particular game. And you could see this time it was a toss-up. Jason Holder right at the end, the big six. I think those last couple of sixes pipped him ahead of Ridhiman Saha. Yuzvendra Chahal was brilliant. Didn't get a chance to pick up any more wickets. And how often do you see an ultimate team of the day without Virat Kohli in that 11? Even when he's had a bad day, somehow he picks up 2 or 3 catches, 20, 30 runs, and he's in there. This time around, no Virat Kohli. Boost stamina meter. And, we've had a lot of players that we talk about building up to it. Let's find out who it is at the end of this particular game. And we've talked about him already. And Natarajan was outstanding, certainly outstanding. The Yorkers, Shaun Pollock, never mind the bowling ratings, bowling figures, the average speeds, but his strength has been the Yorker. We often talk about that as everyone wants to bowl that delivery. Natarajan just bowls more than most.
Yeah, it doesn't. And a lot of people in discussions when they talk to bowlers in T20 format say predictability. You can't be too predictable. But you know what? If you actually nail the skill that you're trying to do and you want to be predictable doing that, it can be very effective. And he's the one who's probably shown us that the most throughout this tournament. I think he's bowled almost double the Yorkers of anyone else in the tournament. And he's had the confidence and the practice to do it. He does it with success. And he's been in many ways a revelation. I know Ian Bishop has thoroughly enjoyed him because Bishop is always calling for more and more Yorkers. And he's done brilliant. He should have had 2 wickets today. And he played his part. He did change it up a little bit up front in the lengths he bowled and adapted to the surface. But in general, he's held his nerve throughout this tournament and delivered those Yorkers at will.
He certainly has. And when you can stand up and be talked about in a team that has, Rashid Khan in the lineup, Bhuvaneshwar, of course, not there right now, probably fill a bit of that hole left by Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and they'll be delighted for that. If they go on to make the playoffs, he'll certainly be one of those individuals they'll be thanking. But an interesting scenario when it gets to the games tomorrow, we're going to have all the teams that take the field tomorrow are going to be playing their final game. Teams that played on Saturday, each of them will be playing on Monday and Tuesday respectively. But tomorrow we're going to have an interesting scenario of teams playing their final game. And we're going to look ahead to, of course, when I say final game, I mean the final game of the 56 in the league stage. The first of them will be Chennai against Punjab, match number 53 from Abu Dhabi. This is the one we've been talking about throughout. Punjab have sat today and seen 2 teams go below them on net run rate. Chennai out of the tournament, but they're just wanting to go out on a high. Shaun Pollock briefly said that maybe are they already thinking, do they have boarding passes in their hand? Well, we're not quite sure. But if you go by their last performance, Shaun, Punjab and other teams, well, they might still have a role to play.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure's all on Punjab. They have to produce. If they get anything wrong, they're out of the tournament. Chennai know they're on their way anyway. But their confidence will have grown from their last 2 performances. And often you go out there and in many ways you play carefree cricket. If it comes off, you'll probably beat anyone in the tournament on the day. But if it doesn't, if you have a bit of a wobble up front, that's when they'll be in danger of just collapsing and giving Punjab the point. So those first 6 overs will dictate a lot, I feel, in the game tomorrow. And Chennai would love to have the last say in a disappointing campaign, going out on a winning note.
And Joy, if you can just imagine eavesdropping on that dressing room, maybe tonight, Stephen Fleming, MS Dhoni, they're not the kind of team who would say, okay, what time's our flight on whichever day it is? They'd be the kind saying, listen, we've won the last 2 against 2 big teams. Come on, guys, who's up for a massive win, not just a win?
Yeah, I think they will. But they will also give youngsters a chance. They'll try and give them free rein because they'll say, you know what, the 21 season is just 3 months or 4 months away. So start focusing, start thinking about it. Let's get some results. Show me what you've got and you will be there for that 21 thing. So I think they'll find ways to motivate their younger guys. I think it's a bit more difficult with the senior guys to motivate them. I loved what Jadeja did. And I think Jadeja he plays with a very different reason. I think he plays for pride. And, it's just his ego. I'm not going to go down, There's this great Dylan Thomas poem. Now, do not go gently into that night, into that good night. So he does not go gently. He's not going to go down quietly for you. And he was absolutely...
I want you guys to tell me who of the Chennai fans, who would they want to be in the playoffs? Would they prefer Punjab to be there, or would they like playing Bangalore or Delhi Capitals to be knocked out? Who would you say they would least like in the playoffs?
I have a theory. That they would like anyone who can beat Mumbai. Their point is their greatness is equated with Mumbai having 4 championships and them having 3. So what they'll want is Mumbai shouldn't go on to 5 championships because that makes life much more difficult. If Mumbai ends up on 4, does not win this time, they'll say, you know what, let's give Dhoni 1 more title. Rohit can't have more titles than him. I think that's how they think. And because they'll always make it about themselves. You know what I mean? So I think they'll say anyone who can beat Chennai. Anyone who can beat Mumbai.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Sort of, I was going to try and draw a parallel with football, but I didn't want to mention a particular club. So let's not even go there for the moment and stick to cricket. I'm sure Shaun Pollock, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Often the rivalry is a team we love to hate, but that happens. You've got to be a class team in the first place to be able to say that. So fair enough. Even if you're fans of it and you know what I'm talking about, don't come hard at me. Let's instead talk about the men in yellow and any possible changes. One of the bright sparks for them, just like for Ridhiman Saha and for the men in orange, has been Ruturaj Gaikwad. He was talked about early in the tournament. He had a disappointing start, but he's come on well. Now, you'd pretty much want to look down that list and say, who hasn't got a game? Let's put him in, Shaun.
I don't know if they'll do that. I mean, they have swapped around. For example, Faf played one and then Shane Watson played the next. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with. I'm sure all the young Indian guys who performed well, like Gadwad, will continue to play. And they'll try and give them roles where they can test out their strength. Going forward, good chance the tournament's back on these kind of facilities rather than in Chennai itself. So they want to get a little bit of understanding, but they'll try and balance it. What you want to do in these situations is you want to keep the experience and then give the youngsters a go as well. So you mix it up nicely so pressure can be taken off and they can just try and express themselves. If you go with too many youngsters, then it can end up being a bit of a disaster. So I think it'll continue to be a good blend of experience and youth.
Fair point there. Monu Kumar got to go the last time around. I just felt maybe someone like K. Asif, it's been a wonderful story of how he's made it to the team in the first place. So it would be a good story to finish with if K. Asif got to go right at the end, along with, of course, Piyush Chawla for your sake. One last time, Joy.
No, I don't think. I honestly think they're not probably looking at Piyush Chawla at this point in time. K. Asif, maybe. I think definitely. I think Faf for Watson if Faf is fit. Definitely. I think the rest they'll leave it because I think they want to see what Ngiti's got. He's given them something in the last match. And I think they'll want to say, let's give a young team a good enough chance to win. And I think they need enough, as Shaun said, to at least have the core of a team that can win a match, because Punjab is going to be desperate. Punjab is going to hit them very hard.
Yeah. Well, if for those of you who just want to get online and look up the KM Asif story, there's a Dubai connection in there as well. So if you could call him a local boy, he's the closest thing you can get to a local boy there. But let's look at the opposition, because no matter what carefree cricket Chennai play, it's certainly not going to be carefree from, well, Chris Gayle will be. But for the rest of them, you might just see them tightening up a little bit, Shaun.
Yeah, I think that's right. Even Chennai's team that they choose will be very focused on who's going to be best equipped to deal with the batting prowess of Punjab. I think that's been their strength, particularly up front. You want those early wickets. Maxwell hasn't shone as yet. They'll be hoping that he can help them get over the line and give them a bit of confidence heading into the playoffs. But I don't think there'll be too many changes for them. They've performed brilliantly over the last 6 games. Just had that blip in the last one, and the Gale factor has been impressive, hasn't it? I know he got a little 10% fine for letting go of his bat in frustration after getting out for 99, but he'll be keen to continue his fine form. He really has been a brilliant find, if you want to call a 41-year-old a good find at this stage of the tournament.
Yeah, he likes to just find himself all the time, no matter what happens, Christopher Henry Gale. But one factor will be the Mayank factor. Remember when the tournament started, it was all about Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, the 2 good friends from Bengaluru. They were scoring a mountain of runs, but maybe it worked against them in a sense. They didn't get enough from the others. Now, Joy, if Mayank is fit, he walks in for you?
Yeah, if Mayank is fit, he walks in. It's a very easy swap. They'll put Mayank in, they'll move Mandeep back, and they'll probably drop Huda. But I can't see them making any other changes there. But I just want to tell you one thing. At the pro, how much of a pro Chris Gayle is. So he does that. He gets angry. The bat goes out. He's smart. He's smart as hell. He knows immediately he's facing a fine. What does he do? While going, he low fives the bowler to show that, you know what, I'm not angry about this. And he's probably brought down that 25% fine to a 10% fine. He is very sharp that way. The moment he's released the bat, he says, oh God, I'm going to find them. He quickly goes and low fives the bowler. It's all about spirit of cricket. I love him. He's just too funny. Very sharp cricketer.
But really, the story of the second half, it's not a coincidence when we have a look at those first 7 games, then the next 5, and Chris Gayle was not there at all. Every game we would come, we'd do a preview of Punjab. Okay, we've got all the foreign players. Mujib might play. Cottrell is playing. Will Neesham play? We weren't even talking about Chris Gayle, or we were saying, when will he play? KL Rahul was asked twice at 2 consecutive tosses, and he said, When the time is right, he comes in. Whatever it was, whatever their strategy was, or if it was an accident, it was a happy accident, Shaun.
Yeah, the funny thing was we looked at a stat today and during the game, and it was about the most sixes they've been hit in the tournament, and he's in the 20s. I think he's third or fourth on the list. I think he's played 5 or 6 games less than everyone else, and he hit his.
He's played just 6 games.
Yeah, and he hit his 1000th T26 in the last match. So yeah, there's a reputation behind him too. From my day when I used to open the bowling up against Chris, and you knew if you got it wrong and it was his day, you were under immense pressure. Nothing's changed. He's now 41. He's still beating these youngsters to all parts of the ground. And that fear factor, and he's clever too. Joy was talking about how smart he is. He identifies certain players, younger, more inexperienced bowlers, and he looks for the opportunity when he has it to put them under pressure, to hit 2 or 3 sixes in an over, and all of a sudden he's away, and then he can be more selective about going after the international stars or the more experienced campaigners, and he's just worked it out, and that's why he's lasted as long as he has. If he hadn't done that, he wouldn't still be playing at 41.
Absolutely, and the big worry, Joy, also is when you see him charging up and down the wicket for 1 and 2. Oh boy,
Yeah, he wants to win this. He wants to win an IPL tournament before he goes. I'm very sure of that. He's won other cups. He's not won the IPL. He's won a T20 World Cup. He really, really, really wants to win it. But the other thing is, I remember that look that Mayank Agarwal and he walking out to bat for the super over, and Mayank is sort of asking him, "Should I face?" And he's, "Don't be silly. What's wrong with you? I'm going out to bat, and you think you're going to face?" I mean, the disdain with which he looked. Mayank is this informed batsman who's played every match. And Chris just says, I mean, what's wrong with you? Universe boss is here. You're not going to face. So, exactly that. And if you can do that to your teammate, think of exactly what Shaun has said, how much he's doing that to a poor opposition bowler. One bowler comes in, bowls to him, gets hammered past his head. And then you have that look that, 5 more balls, that sinking feeling in your stomach. 5 more balls. Where am I going to pitch it? There's this monster standing in front of me. I can't see the stumps. Where am I going to pitch the ball?
It's also
there's a narrative. There's a narrative and there's a story. And the moral of the story was Kings 11 were no way. And then Chris Gayle came to the mix. And that's not lost on Cramps, on the universal boss. He knows if he gets his team into the playoffs and they manage to go on a run and win it, a lot of the credit goes to him because he has been the catalyst. I mean, we can't get away there's no way from hiding from that fact that Gayle has been the catalyst to where they've got to so far. If they get into the playoffs and they go well, it's a lot down to him.
Another sign of greatness is when you talk about yourself in the third person, and that's what Chris Gayle tends to do. So watch out for him. And we will go on to talk about the next game, which is going to be dramatic for different reasons. Chennai are out and Punjab have it all in their own hands. But for Kolkata and Rajasthan, they not only have to play, but they have to play and sweat and look at other results and so many other things, pull out the calculators. But at least if you focus on the game at hand in Dubai, match number 54, both these teams will look back. Maybe they'll think of a few lost opportunities along the way. Not they should be doing that. But as a matchup, Joy, purely, let's start with Kolkata first. They'll have to put all that behind and say, let's just play with an open mind and a clear mind.
Yeah, I mean, the last match, if they were 2 balls away from winning it, they were 1 bad Lockie Ferguson over from winning it. They were 1 Nitish Rana away from winning it. You can say many things, but that's the thing. I think what Kolkata has not got is consistency. They've not got settled. Their team doesn't look settled. There's a lot of talent out there, but it's sparking and spluttering and sparking and spluttering. And actually, if you look at the results, they're actually very lucky to be where they are. They're 6 and 7. They're pretty lucky to be where they are, but they're not. The kind of performances they're giving, it's not really reflecting in the results. I think they've been lucky a couple of times. And tomorrow, actually, for them is it's not the easiest of matchups. I don't think they match up very well to Rajasthan, but it'll be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, if you have a look down that list, Shaun, 10 runs, 2 runs, super over. So even 6 of those points that they have got, they'll consider that, we just somehow scraped over the line. So in all fairness, even if you're a Kolkata fan, you'll have to look back at the season and say, if we don't make it, we probably don't deserve to be there.
Yeah, I remember there was two games which I thought when the games were on, like, well, they're not going to win this, and they managed to squeak over the line. I think it was the Chennai and the Punjab games, and it came at an important time because it kept them in the tournament. I mean, I don't want to upset Kolkata fans, but if you were going on pure form and just having a look at the current state of both teams, you would say Rajasthan would definitely go in with this one a favourite. They seem to have found a combination. They've got Stokes to the top of the order. They've got a bit more balance in the middle. Their bowlers are starting to create that self-belief. So I would think they would be the favourites going in. I mean, obviously, it's been pretty unpredictable, this tournament. But what I would suggest is that the team who bats second will have the advantage because they'll know what to do. I mean, obviously, a win is vital, but you've got to win, and you've got to win with a substantial margin if you want to give yourself a chance of going through. So in many ways, it might be a stage in the game where you have to risk all and really try and hammer home an advantage where you say, listen, we can't win this in the 20th over. We need to win it by the 15th. Let's change the order. Let's go hard at this particular bowler. So it could be a thoroughly interesting game to watch tomorrow. But I think the team that bats second will know the equation better and probably have more chance of not only winning, but also working out the permutations.
No, absolutely. The best thing about it is they will know the Punjab result. So they know, is Punjab in? If Punjab is in, they know how much they need to score to at least cross Punjab. Because they will not know about Hyderabad till the last day. But at least they will know how much it is that I need to go to be safe over Punjab. And that will be very interesting. So, that second match will be so many people standing outside with calculators and messages, and you'll see Brendan with his this thing, walkie-talkie, talking to the outfield. All sorts of things are going to happen. It will be an interesting one, the second one match.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And I must say, Shaun, it was brave of you to put that point out, not just for all Kolkata fans, but knowing that there's two Kolkatans in the studio with you. Distance enough that you could afford to put that out there.
Yeah, it wasn't lost on me that there is a strong Kolkata presence in this Cricbuzz com box.
Yeah, and I haven't even mentioned our producer, so let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. Let's quickly have a look at the squads and see if we foresee any changes. First, the men in purple. Again, there's been enough of quality that they've delivered. We've seen someone like Tom Banton who's come in and played. Chris Green's had a bit of a look in, but otherwise, do you really see anything that needs to be changed because it's a do-or-die game, Joy?
Look, I really don't see. I mean, there must be some logic in them playing Rinku Singh at the position they're playing him, but I just didn't get it. I mean, I just didn't get whether he's performing what he was giving. If he's going to bat low down the order, it does make sense. If KKR, they pushed in Rinku Singh before somebody like a Owen Morgan, it just doesn't seem to make sense for me. So if I were to look at a change, I'd say if I can get Rinku Singh out, I'd still say give me a top-class international bowler like Kuldeep Yadav. Let's try him for 2 overs. He gets it, he gets it. He doesn't get it, that's fine. But I can't see Rinku Singh winning the match with them winning the match for them with the bat. So that's my only thing. That a braver side would be going in with an extra bowler option.
And what is the situation with Dreras?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. You took the words out of my mouth. If that could be an X factor, if he can somehow squeeze back in.
Yeah, I think Lucky Ferguson was great for the role he's done, but in many ways just tailed off a touch. And if Dreras can do 2 overs, I just always look at that Calcutta batting lineup, and I'm thinking to myself, if you've got someone who's explosive still to come at number 7 or 8, that gives him the better option. But obviously, he does need to be able to contribute with the ball. We can't have him running off 5 steps and looking to bowl because Lucky Ferguson would be better than that.
Well, we've seen him come back from worse, Joy, and if there's any possibility, even as we speak, there'll be a physio working on him.
No, they will be. Kamlesh will be working on him very hard right now. But I think what's happening is exactly, if you bring in Dreras, you drop Lucky, and then what you do is maybe you drop a Rinku Singh, bring in the other fast bowler, bring in Prasidh Krishna. And this, of course, is the Rajasthan squad. And, I can't see them making much change except, that they have this one sort of roundabout Ferris wheel that they have between Ankit Rajput, Jaydev Unadkat and Varun Aaron. So currently it's Varun Aaron, and how the wheel will turn tomorrow, I don't know.
Well, you can go back, Joy, since you were on the subject. We thought we'd bring back the squad for you. So you were just talking about how you could possibly, if Russell comes back.
So I'd say bring in Prasidh Krishna, okay? Bring in Prasidh Krishna or bring in Kuldeep Yadav. Bring in that extra bowler And then if Lockie has to go out for Dre Russ, you play him. The only problem is I don't know how strong the regulations are about fielding 20 overs, because if he's not very mobile, then what do? So they're going to look at all it. They're desperate enough to try and say that Russell coming in is a psychological boost for us as well.
Fair enough.
But I don't know how they play it. It really depends on how unfit of it he is. If he's 70% fit, he'll play. If he's 50% fit, then things are very different.
Well, let's look at the opposition, because they have no such problems. They're just starting to come good at the right time, even though it's not completely in their hands. The likes of Uthappa playing up top. They found a right slot for Jos Buttler, and Ben Stokes, who looked rusty in his first game and a half. I think that's been the big plus, Shaun Pollock. Just Ben Stokes on paper was not enough.
Yeah, I think the key was also bowling. It was just 2 matches back he didn't bowl, and in the last game he bowls. That bowling unit looks completely different. Ankit Rajput and Varun Arun have been the two that they've mixed it up with. And it was funny, Varun Arun looked very short on confidence to me. I mean, his wrist position, he was sort of rolling his wrist across it. The ball wasn't coming out with that real confidence that we've seen from him in the years gone by. So he might be a little bit down. But I'm thinking they're just going to bring David Miller in for this occasion, just because he hasn't played so far in the tournament. No, I'm only joking.
I thought so. Suddenly everyone's suddenly looking at when is David Miller last?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be from South Africa by any chance, would he, Shaun?
Well, Sam, the poor guy, he had one match. He didn't even face the ball. He got run out.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Killer Miller. You have to feel for him. But Joy, just to finish up on this point, he mentioned Varun Arun. He did look out of sorts there. He's had a few injury problems during the tournament. Is he the one you'd like to replace? Because you need a support for Jofra.
Yeah, look, I really don't know which other person. Would you go for Jaydev? Where are they playing? Are they playing Abu Dhabi? If they're playing Abu Dhabi, they might think of Jaydev. Dubai, Jaydev, maybe not. But I then Ankit Rajput. But see, Varun Arun, that's the thing. Varun Arun is a class bowler, but he bowls at 140, 145 consistently. But the problem is that Varun Arun can't get cute. That's not his game. His game is not the slower one. He has to bowl his strength. That's really fast, test match length, or at least Yorker kind of length. Not try and do or short. He's got a very, very good short ball when he chooses to. I think he needs to do that.
I think the only thing why you might probably stick with him is when you look at the last game he came up, he sort of was all right to start, and then when Chris Gale got on strike, it sort of looked like he was short on confidence. When you have a look at the Kolkata top 3, there's not really someone who's putting you under immense pressure. So maybe he'll feel more comfortable in his role to bowl to those 3 than he would against one of the top stars of the tournament. So having won the last game, maybe don't change it and stick with him, thinking that he should have a little bit more confidence in those first 6 overs this time around.
Well, it's
actually I'll go on with that, because I think you're right. Because somebody like a Rahul Tripathi doesn't like serious pace, and if Varun Arun has something, he can bowl it at that 145. So yes, they might just sit and say that for Indian players, and Calcutta's top 3 is Indian, completely Indian. Let's give a little raw pace rather than cuteness with the ball. I think they'll find it more difficult. So yeah, I can quite agree with that happening.
Fair enough, Joy. But the whole point is, even if you bowl at 145, you cannot bowl full tosses outside off stump like you have with your Joy Factor question today. I'm sorry, you just can't. I mean,
was it that bad? Come on.
Oh, fair. I mean, by your own admission, I wasn't judging it. I asked you to admit.
It was a slow pull.
It was a self-rating. So why don't you repeat the question for us? And
okay. And yeah, the answers, about 17 answers came in the first 10 seconds. If Glenn McGrath has done it 104 times in test matches, who has achieved a particular feat 110 times in one-day international cricket, and what is the feat? It's, of course, the great Wasim Akram. This is dismissing batsmen for a duck in one-day international cricket. And it's amazing that out of the 502 international wickets he's taken, can you imagine 110 of them were batsmen out for duck? That's a sensational number. That's an absolutely serious number. Shaun?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good, isn't it? I must just confess that when you gave the question and I sat here, I had absolutely no idea who the person was, but everyone else knows their information pretty well, and they got the answers. We have the winner.
Okay, and let's see who the winner is. Giant Sujit. Is it one person or two persons? I don't know. But Giant Sujit. Well done. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous performance. Where is Gautam? Sean, have you seen him?
No, I don't know. We've lost him. He's
There is somebody still here because we just wanted to remind everybody that in the second game, it was the team in orange that had to keep up the theme for today, which of course was Halloween. It had to be a team in orange that won the second game. They won it in style. And what we had to do on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live, as we wrapped up a long Saturday on behalf of Shaun Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya, Gautam Bhimani, and myself, to say a happy Halloween, and we'll see you on Super Sunday.